Welcome, seeker of wisdom, to a journey into the heart of one of humanity's most tumultuous and destructive emotions, anger. We've all felt it, that burning surge, that tightening in the chest, the overwhelming impulse to lash out, to blame, to dismantle. Anger, in its rawest form, feels powerful, almost intoxicatingly so. Yet, its aftermath often leaves a bitter taste. Regret, fractured relationships, compromised integrity, and a profound sense of exhaustion. It's a force that promises control but delivers chaos, that masquerades as strength but often reveals a deep vulnerability. For millennia, philosophers, sages, and thinkers have grappled with this fiery passion. Among them, a school of thought emerged from ancient Greece and Rome, offering not just theories but a remarkably practical blueprint for living a good life, a life of virtue, resilience, and tranquility. This is Stoicism. And contrary to popular misconception, Stoicism is not about suppressing emotions until you become an unfeeling automaton. No, quite the opposite. It is about understanding emotions, dissecting them with the razor-sharp edge of reason, and ultimately mastering them so they serve you, rather than enslave you. Today we delve into one of the most vital applications of Stoic wisdom, the systematic control of anger. Anger, the Stoics observed, is a temporary madness. It blinds us, distorts our judgment, and propels us into actions we invariably come to regret. Seneca, one of the most articulate Stoic voices on this very subject, dedicated an entire treatise on anger to dismantling its illusions and offering clear pathways to its defeat. He saw anger not as a natural or healthy response, but as a dangerous, self-inflicted wound. The Stoic approach to anger is not a quick fix or a magical incantation. It is a philosophy of life, a daily practice, a commitment to developing an inner citadel of unshakable calm. It requires effort, self-awareness, and relentless self-examination, but the rewards are immense. Clarity of thought, harmonious relationships, peace of mind, and the profound freedom that comes from being the master of your own inner world. We will explore 8 powerful Stoic strategies, each a pillar in the architecture of emotional resilience. These are not merely abstract ideas, they are actionable techniques, honed by centuries of human experience, designed to disarm anger before it takes hold, or to dissipate its power if it has already begun to flare. By understanding and consistently applying these strategies, you can transform your relationship with anger, moving from reactive victim to proactive commander of your emotional landscape. Prepare to shift your perspective, prepare to challenge ingrained habits, prepare to reclaim your inner peace. Let us begin this profound exploration into the Stoic art of mastering anger. Strategy 1. The dichotomy of control, identifying what is truly yours. Our journey into Stoic anger management begins with perhaps the most fundamental and transformative Stoic principle, the dichotomy of control. This concept, articulated most clearly by Epictetus, the former slave who became a celebrated Stoic teacher, states that some things are within our power and others are not. Our opinions, impulses, desires, aversions, in short, our internal judgments and responses, are within our power. Our body, possessions, reputation, office, and the actions of others, these are not. The problem, anger, born from frustration and futility. Think for a moment about the last time you felt truly angry. What was its trigger? Perhaps someone cut you off in traffic. Perhaps a colleague failed to deliver on a promise. Maybe a loved one said something hurtful. Or perhaps the weather ruined your carefully planned outdoor event. In almost every instance, the anger stems from a feeling of being thwarted, of things not going the way you expected or desired. It's the frustration of encountering an obstacle, often an obstacle that lies entirely outside of your influence. We often become enraged when external events or other people's behaviors don't conform to our expectations. We expect traffic to flow smoothly, we expect people to be polite, we expect our plans to unfold perfectly. When reality deviates from these expectations, we experience a clash, a cognitive dissonance that we often translate into anger. This anger, however, is not a constructive response, it is a symptom of a misplaced desire for control. We are trying to control the uncontrollable, and our failure to do so fuels our resentment and rage. It's like shaking a vending machine because it didn't dispense the correct item, fully knowing that the machine doesn't respond to your frustration, only to the correct coin. Yet, we rage on, expending precious emotional energy on something utterly impervious to our will, the Stoic insight. Focusing energy where it matters. The Stoic insight is profoundly simple, yet immensely powerful. Waste no energy on what is not within your control. Devote all your attention and effort to what is within your power. And what is within your power? Your judgment of external events and your response to them. Epictetus put it bluntly, it's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. The traffic jam itself is not inherently good or bad, it simply is. Your anger arises from your judgment that it shouldn't be there, that it's an inconvenience, a personal affront to your schedule. By recognizing the dichotomy of control, you begin to systematically dismantle the very foundation upon which much of your anger is built. You realize that your anger is almost always a reaction to something external, something that by its very nature you cannot directly change. You cannot control the actions of other drivers, the decisions of your boss, the words of your partner, or the whims of the weather. Trying to do so is a guaranteed path to frustration and anger. Practical application, a three-step practice. How do we apply this in the heat of the moment? 1. Identify the trigger. When you feel the first stirrings of anger, pause. Ask yourself, what specifically is making me angry right now? Is it what someone said, what someone did, a situation unfolding? 2. Apply the dichotomy filter. Once you've identified the trigger, ask, is this within my control or outside of my control? If it's outside your control, acknowledge it, accept it. This traffic jam is outside my control. Their rude comment is outside my control. The spilled milk is outside my control. This isn't resignation in a negative sense. It's a strategic retreat from an unwinnable battle. Your energy is better spent elsewhere. Instead of raging, you can then ask, given this reality, what is within my control? Perhaps it's your attitude, your decision to listen to music, or your choice to respond calmly or not at all. If it's within your control, then act. If your anger is about your own procrastination, you can stop procrastinating. If it's about your own messy desk, you can clean it. But crucially, this kind of anger is usually better termed frustration or motivation, leading to productive action, not destructive rage. True anger almost always arises from what we cannot control. 3. Shift your focus. Once you've categorized the trigger, consciously shift your focus. If it's uncontrollable, pivot your attention to your internal response. What judgment are you making? Can you reframe it? Can you choose a different internal narrative? Can you remind yourself of your priorities and values? Is this situation truly worth sacrificing your inner peace? Examples in action. Traffic jam. You're stuck. The driver in front is driving erratically. You feel your blood pressure rising. Dichotomy of control. Reappraisal. I cannot control this traffic, nor can I control that driver's behavior. What I can control is my reaction. Shift focus. Breathe deeply. Put on a podcast. Remind yourself that getting angry changes nothing except making you miserable. The objective reality of the traffic remains, but your internal experience transforms. Insult from a colleague. A colleague makes a snide remark about your work. You feel a flush of anger and the urge to retaliate. Dichotomy of control. Reappraisal. I cannot control what they say or their motivations. Their words are merely sounds in the air. What I can control is how I interpret their words and how I choose to respond. Shift focus. With their opinion truly valid? Is it worth sacrificing my professional decorum for? Perhaps they are having a bad day. Perhaps their comment reveals more about them than about me. I can choose to ignore it, to address it calmly, or to let it pass. Their words only have power if I assent to them, if I judge them as personally damaging. Delayed flight. Your flight is significantly delayed, throwing off your entire schedule. You see others erupting in anger at the gate agent. Dichotomy of control. Reappraisal. I cannot control airline operations or unforeseen mechanical issues. My anger won't make the plane leave any faster. Shift focus. What can I do? I can read a book, catch up on emails, or practice patience. I can view this as an unexpected opportunity for quiet reflection. The situation is what it is. My peace is my responsibility. Benefits, tranquility and empowerment. The consistent practice of the dichotomy of control doesn't just reduce anger, it cultivates profound tranquility. You become less susceptible to the whims of the external world because you stop investing your emotional capital in things that offer no return. This isn't about becoming indifferent, it's about becoming strategic with your emotional resources. Furthermore, it's incredibly empowering. You reclaim agency. Instead of feeling like a victim of circumstances, you become the active architect of your inner state. You learn that your happiness and peace are not contingent upon the world conforming to your desires, but upon your internal response to the world as it is. This is the bedrock of Stoic freedom. You realize that true power lies not in controlling external events, but in controlling yourself, your judgments, and your reactions. It's a shift from a reactive life to a proactive, intentional existence, where anger finds fewer and fewer footholds. Embrace this fundamental principle. Let it be the first filter through which you process every potential trigger for anger. You will quickly discover how much of your past rage was utterly self-inflicted, born from an illusion of control over that which was never truly yours. The path to inner peace begins with this clear distinction. Strategy 2. Premeditatio Malorum. Rehearsing adversity. Having grasped the foundational concept of the dichotomy of control, we now turn to a powerful proactive technique known as Premeditatio Malorum, or the premeditation of evils. This Stoic practice involves consciously contemplating potential difficulties, setbacks, and indeed anger-inducing scenarios before they occur. It's not about dwelling on negativity, it's about mental preparation, inoculating yourself against the shock and emotional upheaval that often accompany unforeseen troubles. The problem: the shock of the unexpected. Why do we often react with such intense anger when things go wrong? A significant part of the problem lies in the element of surprise. We operate under an often unconscious assumption that our day, our plans, our interactions will proceed smoothly, without friction or unexpected challenges. When this assumption is shattered, when the car breaks down, when a friend betrays us, when a project fails, the shock, the abrupt shift from expectation to reality can be deeply unsettling. This shock, combined with our judgments about how things should be, often ignites the fuse of anger. Consider the person who erupts in road rage. Part of their fury stems from the unexpected impediment to their journey, the sudden loss of control over their schedule, or the professional who loses their temper during a crisis. It's not just the crisis itself, but the unanticipated nature of it, the disruption to their perceived order, that fuels the emotional outburst. We are psychologically unprepared, and our unpreparedness makes us brittle, easily shattered by the smallest deviation from our preferred script. Seneca vividly describes this vulnerability. The things that strike us suddenly disturb us most. This is why we should send our minds ahead to meet every eventuality. He understood that the unprepared mind is a vulnerable mind. The Stoic insight: familiarity breeds fortitude. The Stoic answer to this vulnerability is Premeditatio Malorum. It's a deliberate exercise in anticipating what could go wrong, both in general terms and in specific situations. It's not about being pessimistic, it's about being realistic and pragmatic. By mentally rehearsing potential adversities, we rob them of their power to shock and disorient us. When something we've already considered actually happens, it no longer feels like a sudden personal attack by fate, but rather an expected, albeit unwelcome, part of life's tapestry. This practice allows us to 1. Reduce emotional impact. The shock value is diminished, and with it the intensity of our initial emotional reaction, including anger. 2. Prepare rational responses. When we've already thought through a difficult scenario, we can pre-plan our rational responses. Instead of a knee-jerk emotional outburst, we have a blueprint for action or acceptance. 3. Reinforce the dichotomy of control. Premeditatio Malorum naturally leads us back to our first strategy. As we contemplate potential evils, we identify which aspects are outside our control, the event itself, and which are within our control, our reaction, our preparedness, our attitude. Seneca urged us to rehearse evils in our minds, to imagine poverty, exile, pain, loss, and even death. In the context of anger, this means imagining scenarios that typically trigger our fury, encountering incompetence, facing injustice, being deliberately provoked, experiencing failure. By running these scenarios through our minds beforehand, we develop a mental callus, strengthening our resilience. Practical application: structured mental rehearsal. Integrate Premeditatio Malorum into your daily routine, perhaps during your morning reflection or a quiet moment before bed. 1. General contemplation of adversity. Take a few moments each day to consider the transient nature of things. Today, I might encounter ungratefulness, arrogance, envy, disrespect. Marcus Aurelius. Think about the general misfortunes that befall humans: illness, loss, inconvenience, betrayal. Acknowledge that these are part of the human condition and are not personal affronts. 2. Specific scenario rehearsal. Before an important meeting, a difficult conversation, or an anticipated stressful event, mentally walk through it. What are the possible challenges I might face in this meeting? How might someone try to provoke me? What unexpected setbacks could occur with this project? If my partner says X, which usually infuriates me, how will I react? If I get stuck in traffic, how will I respond? 3. Pre-planning your Stoic response. This is the crucial part. Don't just identify the potential problem, pre-plan your ideal Stoic response. If someone is rude, I will remind myself that their behavior is a reflection of their own inner state, not a judgment on my worth. I will choose not to engage or to respond calmly, as it's outside my control. If a plan falls apart, I will accept that things don't always go my way. I will pivot and focus on what can be done now, rather than dwelling on what should have been. If I experience a setback, I will view this as an opportunity to learn, to practice patience, and to demonstrate resilience. My worth is not tied to the outcome of this event. Examples in action. Anticipating a challenging family gathering. You know certain family members have a knack for pushing your buttons. Instead of hoping for the best, you use Premeditatio Malorum. You imagine Aunt Carol making her usual passive-aggressive comment, or Uncle Bob launching into a political tirade. You mentally rehearse your response. If Aunt Carol makes that comment, I will simply smile and change the subject, recognizing that her need to do so is her own burden. If Uncle Bob starts talking politics, I will excuse myself to help with dinner or engage another family member, understanding that I cannot control his opinions. When the moment arrives, the comment doesn't hit with the same force because you've already processed it. Preparing for a difficult work presentation. You're presenting a new idea, and you know there will be skeptics or even hostile questions. You use Premeditatio Malorum. You imagine tough questions, direct challenges, even outright rejection. You prepare your answers, but more importantly, you prepare your emotional response. If they tear apart my idea, I will remind myself that feedback, even harsh, is part of the process. My value isn't tied to this single presentation. I will listen critically, defend what I can with reason, and accept what needs improvement without getting defensive or angry. This mental rehearsal ensures you walk in with a shield of composure. Facing potential failure. You're embarking on a challenging project knowing there's a significant chance of failure. Instead of ignoring this possibility, you confront it. What if this project fails? What if I pour my heart into it and it doesn't work out? You consider the ramifications, disappointment, wasted effort. Then you pre-plan your internal response. If it fails, I will mourn the effort but not the learning. I will extract every lesson. My integrity lies in the effort, not the outcome. My worth as a person is not diminished by one failed endeavor. This thought process helps to diffuse the intense anger and frustration that often accompanies failure, replacing it with a more measured, resilient perspective. Benefits: fortitude, calm, and rationality. The consistent practice of Premeditatio Malorum builds an incredible mental fortitude. You become less easily rattled, less prone to knee-jerk angry reactions. Life's inevitable setbacks cease to feel like personal attacks, and instead become opportunities to practice your Stoic virtues. This practice also frees you from the tyranny of idealization. When you anticipate things going wrong, you stop clinging so desperately to the expectation that everything must go right. This liberation from rigid expectations is a direct antidote to anger, which so often arises when reality fails to conform to our desires. You develop a calm, realistic outlook, grounded in an understanding that difficulty is not an exception but an integral part of the human experience. You are no longer surprised by the human condition, nor by the fickle hand of fortune. You are prepared, and in that preparedness lies a profound and enduring peace. Strategy 3. Cognitive reappraisal. Challenging your judgments. Following our journey through the dichotomy of control and premeditatio malorum, we now arrive at a strategy that drills down into the very heart of how we experience emotions. Cognitive reappraisal. This Stoic technique is centered on the profound insight that our emotions, particularly negative ones like anger, are not directly caused by external events but by our judgments or interpretations of those events. As Epictetus famously declared, it's not things that disturb us but our judgments about things. The problem: automatic, unexamined judgments. When an event occurs, someone insults us, A plan goes awry, we encounter an injustice, our minds often jump to immediate automatic conclusions. These conclusions are judgments, and they are frequently swift, unexamined, and highly charged. We judge the insult as a personal attack, the failed plan as a catastrophe, the injustice as an unforgivable offense. It is these judgments, not the raw events themselves, that ignite the fire of anger. Consider a simple example. A driver cuts you off. The raw event is a car moving in front of yours. Your automatic judgment might be, that person is reckless and disrespectful. They think they own the road. How dare they endanger me? This judgment is laden with blame, personal offense, and a sense of violation. It's this internal narrative, this assent to a negative impression, that sparks the anger, not the mere physical act of one vehicle moving ahead of another. If you were a passenger, your judgment might be less severe, resulting in less anger. If you were a professional race car driver, it might be an expected part of the track. The event is neutral, the judgment is what paints it red with fury. We tend to react with unchecked emotional force because we rarely pause to question these initial judgments. They feel immediate, intuitive, and therefore true. But the Stoics teach us that these initial impressions, these raw data points from the senses, are just that, impressions. They are not necessarily reality, and they certainly don't dictate our emotional response unless we choose to give them our assent. The Stoic insight, the power of assent and reason. The Stoic practice of cognitive reappraisal is about consciously interposing reason between the initial impression and our emotional reaction. It's about questioning, dissecting, and ultimately challenging the judgments that lead to anger. This is the assent that Epictetus spoke of. We have the power to withhold our agreement from impressions that would lead us astray. When an anger-inducing impression arises, the Stoic method encourages us to pause. Create a deliberate gap between stimulus and response. This is a crucial first step, allowing you to intercept the automatic judgment. 2. Examine the impression. What is the bare fact of the situation? Strip away the emotional baggage. A car moved into my lane. My colleague spoke loudly. My project received criticism. 3. Identify your judgment. What narrative are you telling yourself about this bare fact? This person is intentionally trying to harm me. They are disrespectful and incompetent. This criticism means I am a failure. 4. Challenge the judgment. Apply reason and alternative perspectives. Is it true? Is it definitively true that the driver was intentionally malicious or merely distracted? Is the colleague always disrespectful or just having a bad day? Is criticism always a sign of failure or an opportunity for growth? Is it helpful? Does this judgment serve my highest good? Does it promote tranquility or does it fuel distress? Is there another interpretation? Can I frame this event differently? Perhaps the driver didn't see me. Perhaps the colleague is under immense pressure. Perhaps the criticism is valid and can make me better. Is it consistent with virtue? Does this judgment align with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance? Anger rarely does. Apply the dichotomy of control again. Is the reason for the event within my control? No. Is my judgment of the event within my control? Absolutely. By actively challenging and reappraising our judgments, we literally change the story we tell ourselves about the event, and in doing so, we change our emotional response. We move from a state of reactive passion to one of reasoned understanding. Practical application. The 3 disciplines of Epictetus. Epictetus outlined 3 disciplines, and cognitive reappraisal is central to the discipline of assent. 1. The immediate interruption. When you feel anger building, recognize the trigger. Your internal dialogue might sound like, here is an impression that could lead to anger. I must not give my assent too quickly. 2. The factual scrutiny. Separate the fact from the interpretation. Fact: my spouse forgot to pick up the groceries. Initial judgment leading to anger: they always forget. They don't care about my needs. They are unreliable and disrespectful. Reappraisal: it's true they forgot. But always? Is that fair? Do they really not care? Or are they overwhelmed, stressed, or simply made a human error? Is their single action truly indicative of their entire character or their love for me? 3. The virtuous reframe. Choose a new, more rational and virtuous judgment. Instead of, they are disrespectful, choose, they are human and fallible just like me. This is an inconvenience, not a catastrophe. How can I address this calmly or simply adapt? Instead of, this is a personal attack. Choose, this person is acting out of their own ignorance or pain. Their behavior does not define my worth. Instead of, this is catastrophic failure. Choose, This is a challenge, an opportunity to learn and demonstrate resilience. Examples in action. The unresponsive email. You send an urgent email to a team member and hours go by without a reply. You feel a surge of anger. They're ignoring me. They're incompetent. How dare they disrespect my urgency? Pause and examine. The fact is, the email hasn't been replied to. Identify judgment. They are deliberately ignoring me and are incompetent. Challenge judgment. Is that the only possibility? Could they be in a meeting, away from their desk, dealing with an urgent crisis of their own? Did my email even reach them? Have I provided enough time for a reasonable response? Is my anger useful here? Reappraisal. The email hasn't been answered yet. That's a neutral fact. I will follow up later if needed, or consider an alternative communication method. My anger about a delayed email is disproportionate and based on assumptions. The broken item. You accidentally drop and break a cherished item. The immediate anger is directed inward. I'm so clumsy. I'm an idiot. How could I be so careless? Pause and examine. The item is broken. Identify judgment. I am inherently clumsy and stupid, and this is a sign of my inadequacy. Challenge judgment. Was it truly a sign of profound incompetence or an accident? Have I never broken anything before? Is this one incident reflective of my entire being? Does berating myself help fix the item or prevent future accidents? Reappraise. It's unfortunate that the item broke. Accidents happen. I will learn from this, e.g., be more careful with delicate items and accept that some things are beyond repair. My worth is not tied to my ability to never make a mistake. The political argument. You're engaged in a discussion, and someone voices an opinion that you find deeply offensive and wrong. Anger flares. They are so ignorant, biased, evil. How can anyone think that? Pause and examine. They stated an opinion. Identify judgment. Their opinion is objectively wrong, and they are a terrible person for holding it. Challenge judgment. Is my anger truly about their opinion, or about my judgment that they shouldn't hold that opinion? Can I control their beliefs? Does my anger change their mind? Is it possible they have different experiences or a different understanding that leads them to their view? Are they truly evil, or simply mistaken or misinformed from my perspective? Reappraisal. They hold a different view. I cannot control their thoughts or beliefs. My anger will not persuade them, it will only disturb my own peace. I can choose to engage with calm reason or to disengage respectfully, knowing that their opinions are external to me and do not define my inner state. Benefits. Emotional freedom and rationality. Cognitive reappraisal is a liberation. It is the core Stoic practice for achieving apatheia, not apathy but freedom from disturbing passions. By consistently challenging your judgments, you dismantle the emotional triggers for anger one by one. You develop a more discerning mind, one that doesn't blindly accept every impression as absolute truth. This practice cultivates a deep sense of self-awareness and intellectual humility. You learn to recognize the often irrational narratives your mind constructs and to replace them with more accurate, balanced, and productive ones. The result is a profound shift from emotional reactivity to reasoned response, allowing you to navigate life's inevitable challenges with a calm and clear mind, unburdened by the corrosive grip of unexamined anger. It is the essence of true emotional intelligence, born from the ancient wisdom of Stoicism. Strategy 4. The view from above. Gaining cosmic perspective. As we continue to build our arsenal against anger, we turn to a powerful Stoic strategy that helps us deflate the perceived magnitude of our frustrations. The view from above, or taking a cosmic perspective. This technique, prominently featured in the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, involves consciously stepping back from our immediate narrow viewpoint and imagining ourselves observing our situation from a vast, expansive vantage point, as if from high above the earth or even from the cosmos. The problem: myopic self-importance. Why do trivial annoyances often feel so overwhelming, leading to disproportionate anger? Part of the answer lies in our inherent tendency towards self-importance and myopia. When we are caught in the throes of an irritating event, a spilled coffee, a missed connection, a minor disagreement, it can feel like the center of the universe. Our ego inflates the incident, making it seem monumentally significant and personally offensive. We become so deeply immersed in our immediate concerns that we lose all sense of proportion. A traffic jam in the moment feels like a deliberate assault on our time, our schedule. A rude comment feels like a profound attack on our dignity. We are the protagonist in our own personal drama, and every minor inconvenience is cast as a villain. This narrow focus, this inability to zoom out, traps us in a self-constructed cage of emotional distress, where small irritations are magnified into major grievances, ready to ignite into full-blown anger. We take everything too personally, too seriously, too individually. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, understood this human failing. He repeatedly reminded himself to look at them from above and let them appear as an endless stream of humanity, each living and passing away, one after another, and what a small span of time each occupies. He recognized that our angers, born of our petty concerns, lose their sting when seen against the backdrop of eternity and the vastness of the cosmos. The Stoic insight, diminishing the significance. The view from above is a mental exercise designed to deliberately counteract this myopic self-importance. By imagining our situation from a detached, elevated perspective, we achieve several crucial psychological shifts. 1. Diminution of scale. Our seemingly enormous problems shrink to their true, often minuscule proportions. The traffic jam, seen from orbit, is an imperceptible flicker. The rude comment heard from across a galaxy is an unheard whisper. 2. Recognition of universality. We realize that our struggles are not unique. Countless others have experienced similar annoyances, greater tragedies, and have moved on. This removes the sense of why me that often accompanies anger. 3. Connection to the whole. We are reminded of our place within the vast, interconnected fabric of the universe. Our individual frustrations become less significant when weighed against the grand scheme of things. This fosters humility and interdependence. 4. Perspective on time. The fleeting nature of life and the temporary quality of most problems become starkly clear. Will this anger matter in a week, a month, a year, a lifetime? Probably not. This perspective doesn't deny the reality of the situation or invalidate our feelings, rather it reframes them within a larger, more rational context. It allows us to ask, is this truly worth sacrificing my peace over, given the vastness of existence? The answer, almost invariably, is no. It's a tool for mental de-escalation, allowing the surge of anger to subside as its perceived importance evaporates. Practical application. Visual and conceptual shifting. Integrate the view from above into your practice whenever you feel anger or frustration rising. 1. Acknowledge the emotion and trigger. I'm feeling angry because my internet connection is slow. 2. Initiate the zoom out. Consciously imagine pulling away. Start from your immediate location. I am sitting at my desk, frustrated by my computer. Expand to your home. My desk is in my home, one among many in this neighborhood. Expand to your city. My home is in this city, a collection of millions of people, each with their own struggles and concerns. Expand to your country. Then your continent. This city is a dot on a vast landmass. Expand to Earth. The continent is a patch of color on a beautiful blue and green sphere spinning silently in space. Expand to the solar system, the galaxy, the cosmos. This Earth is one tiny speck, orbiting a star, itself one of billions in a galaxy, one among billions of galaxies in an unimaginably vast universe. 3. Reevaluate the problem. From this cosmic vantage point, look back at your initial trigger. My slow internet connection, seen from the perspective of an orbiting satellite, is utterly meaningless. My anger about it is an insignificant blip in the grand scheme of things, a tempest in a teacup. 4. Connect to mortality subtly. Remind yourself of the brevity of your own life. I have a finite number of breaths, a finite amount of time. Is this momentary inconvenience, this fleeting frustration, truly how I wish to spend a portion of this precious limited existence? 5. Recenter on control and virtue. With the problem diminished, return to the dichotomy of control. The speed of the internet is largely outside my immediate control. My anger about it is entirely within my control. What virtuous response can I choose? Patience, acceptance, a calm phone call to tech support. Examples in action. Road rage. Revisited. Someone cuts you off, or traffic is gridlocked. Your anger flares. The view from above. Imagine your car as a tiny metal box on a thin ribbon of asphalt. Zoom out further. The road is a thread on a map. Zoom out further, the city is a pattern of lights. Zoom out further, Earth is a marble. My momentary frustration over a few minutes lost or a perceived slight on this tiny planet is absurd. There are billions of people, millions of cars, thousands of concurrent events happening. This is not personal. This is not significant. My anger is a reaction to my own inflated sense of urgency and importance. A failed project at work. You poured effort into a project and it didn't succeed. You feel intense anger at yourself, at colleagues, at the circumstances. The view from above. Imagine your workplace as a small building in a vast city of countless businesses. The project is one endeavor among millions globally, occurring every second. This project, in the grand sweep of human history and global effort, is a single drop in an ocean. My anger, while intensely felt, is a disproportionate response to a temporary setback in a single life, on a single planet. What is truly important are my character, my learning, and my efforts, not this singular outcome, a personal argument. You've had a heated argument with a loved one over something seemingly trivial. You feel resentment and anger festering. The view from above. Imagine your home, your argument, your relationship. Zoom out to see generations of humans, navigating relationships, experiencing conflicts, making amends, living and dying. This argument, though painful now, is a fleeting moment in the context of our entire lives and in the grand drama of human connection and disconnection. Are the fleeting words spoken in anger truly worth jeopardizing a bond that brings meaning to my short time on earth? My anger is a fleeting reaction, whereas our connection is a significant part of my human experience. Benefits: humility, serenity, and proportion. The view from above is a profound antidote to the self-centeredness that often fuels anger. It cultivates humility, reminding us that we are but small parts of an immense whole. This humility, far from being demeaning, is liberating. It frees us from the pressure of feeling that every problem is an existential crisis. By regularly practicing this technique, you develop a natural sense of proportion. You become less easily agitated by minor inconveniences and more capable of reserving your emotional energy for truly significant challenges. The small fires of anger that once consumed you will find less fuel as you intuitively relegate them to their proper, often insignificant place in the cosmic scheme. It helps you see the bigger picture, and in that vast panorama, much of what provokes our anger simply dissolves into insignificance, leaving behind a profound sense of serenity. Strategy 5. Empathy and understanding. Assuming ignorance, not malice. Having learned to control our internal judgments and gain perspective, we now turn outward to our interactions with others. The fifth Stoic strategy for controlling anger involves cultivating empathy and understanding, specifically by adopting the principle of assuming ignorance, not malice. This approach challenges our default tendency to attribute negative intent to the actions of others, which is a major source of our anger. The problem: the presumption of malice. When someone acts in a way that harms, inconveniences, or offends us, our immediate psychological reflex is often to infer negative intent. We jump to conclusions. They meant to disrespect me. They deliberately tried to thwart my plans. They wanted to cause me pain. This assumption of malice, or at least extreme carelessness, is incredibly potent in fueling anger. If we believe someone actively sought to harm us, anger feels justified, even righteous. It becomes a protective mechanism, a way to assert our boundaries or exact retribution. Consider the driver who cuts you off again. The immediate thought, they're a selfish jerk who doesn't care about anyone else. Not, they might be rushing to a hospital, or they might be genuinely distracted, or a friend who forgets your birthday. The thought, they clearly don't value our friendship. Not, they have a lot on their plate, or they have a bad memory. This knee-jerk attribution of negative intent is often a defensive posture, born of our own insecurities or the desire to maintain a sense of moral superiority. It's a very human tendency, but one that directly contradicts the Stoic pursuit of tranquility and justice. As long as we default to, they meant to do harm, we will be perpetual victims of our own anger. The Stoic insight, the universal pursuit of good. As perceived, the Stoics held a profound and often counterintuitive view of human action. No one willingly does evil. People act according to what they perceive as good for themselves, even if that perception is flawed, ignorant, or misinformed. When someone acts in a way that harms us, they are usually not intending to be evil for evil's sake. Rather, they are acting based on a mistaken judgment, a lack of knowledge, or a misguided pursuit of what they believe is good, or at least beneficial for themselves. They are, in essence, operating from a place of ignorance. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself, "When you are grieved by any man's fault, immediately turn to yourself and study your own failings. Forgetting them, you will endure his with ease." He also advised considering What is his soul like? Who injures me? Is it capable of telling right from wrong? If it is, then I forgive him. If it is not, then I still forgive him, because he is acting according to his nature, just as a thorny bush grows thorns. This doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior, it means understanding its roots. If someone is truly acting from a place of ignorance or mistaken judgment, then anger is a misplaced response. What they need is instruction, clarity, or sometimes simply our acceptance of their human fallibility, not our furious condemnation. Our anger often seeks to punish, but how can we punish someone for a mistake they themselves don't fully comprehend? By assuming ignorance instead of malice, we achieve 1. Reduced personalization. The perceived attack is no longer a direct intentional affront to us, but a manifestation of their internal state or flawed reasoning. 2. Increased compassion, or at least neutrality. It's harder to stay angry at someone you believe is simply misguided or struggling, rather than purely evil. 3. Shift to problem solving. If it's ignorance, the path is instruction or clear communication, not rage. If it's a mistake, the path is forgiveness or setting better boundaries, not boiling over. 4. Preservation of inner peace. Our anger, when rooted in perceived malice, pollutes our own minds. By removing that root, we protect our tranquility. Practical application. The benefit of the doubt. When confronted with behavior that typically triggers your anger, practice the following steps. 1. Catch the assumption. Notice the immediate thought, they're trying to provoke me, or they don't care. 2. Question the assumption. Ask yourself, is this the only possible explanation? Is it the most likely explanation? What other factors could be at play? Actively search for alternative, less malicious interpretations. 3. Consider their perspective. Briefly step into their shoes. What might they be experiencing? What pressures might they be under? What limited information might they be acting on? What might their own flawed reasoning be telling them is the good action? 4. Assume ignorance mistake, not malice. Default to the least negative interpretation that still accounts for the behavior. Perhaps they are simply unaware of the impact of their words at Sansons. Perhaps they misunderstood the instructions, ituation. Perhaps they are acting out of fear, insecurity, or a misguided attempt to protect themselves. Perhaps they are dealing with personal struggles I know nothing about. Perhaps it was a genuine accident or oversight. 5. Choose your response. Once you've reframed their actions through the lens of ignorance, your emotional response will naturally soften. You can then choose a more reasoned, compassionate, or detached response, rather than an angry one. Examples in action. The cutting remark. A relative makes a sharp, critical comment about your life choices. Your first impulse is anger. They're being so judgmental and mean. Assume ignorance. Perhaps they believe they are helping me, even if their delivery is poor. Perhaps they are projecting their own anxieties or insecurities onto my situation. Perhaps they simply lack the social intelligence to phrase their concerns constructively. They are acting from what they believe is good, even if misguided for me or for themselves, not purely to hurt me. This shift helps you see their comment as coming from a place of flawed judgment or limited perspective, rather than pure malice, making it easier to let go of anger. The missed deadline at work. A team member misses a crucial deadline, jeopardizing your project. Your anger boils. They're so unreliable and irresponsible. They don't care about the team. Assume ignorance mistake, not malice. Default to the least negative interpretation that still accounts for the behavior. Perhaps they are simply unaware of the impact of their words behalosens. Perhaps they misunderstood the instruction situation. Perhaps they are acting out of fear, insecurity, or a misguided attempt to protect themselves. Perhaps they are dealing with personal struggles I know nothing about. Perhaps it was a genuine accident or oversight. 5. Choose your response. Once you've reframed their actions through the lens of ignorance, your emotional response will naturally soften. You can then choose a more reasoned, compassionate, or detached response, rather than an angry one. Examples in action. The cutting remark. A relative makes a sharp, critical comment about your life choices. Your first impulse is anger. They're being so judgmental and mean. Assume ignorance. Perhaps they believe they are helping me, even if their delivery is poor. Perhaps they are projecting their own anxieties or insecurities onto my situation. Perhaps they simply lack the social intelligence to phrase their concerns constructively. They are acting from what they believe is good, even if misguided for me or for themselves, not purely to hurt me. This shift helps you see their comment as coming from a place of flawed judgment or limited perspective, rather than pure malice, making it easier to let go of anger. The missed deadline at work. A team member misses a crucial deadline, jeopardizing your project. Your anger boils. They're so unreliable and irresponsible. They don't care about the team. Assume ignorance, mistake, not malice. Default to the least negative interpretation that still accounts for the behavior. Perhaps they are simply unaware of the impact of their words' absence. Perhaps they misunderstood the instruction situation. Perhaps they are acting out of fear, insecurity, or a misguided attempt to protect themselves. Perhaps they are dealing with personal struggles I know nothing about. Perhaps it was a genuine accident or oversight. 5. Choose your response. Once you've reframed their actions through the lens of ignorance, your emotional response will naturally soften. You can then choose a more reasoned, compassionate, or detached response, rather than an angry one. Examples in action. The cutting remark. A relative makes a sharp, critical comment about your life choices. Your first impulse is anger. They're being so judgmental and mean. Assume ignorance, mistake. Perhaps they believe they are helping me, even if their delivery is poor. Perhaps they are projecting their own anxieties or insecurities onto my situation. Perhaps they simply lack the social intelligence to phrase their concerns constructively. They are acting from what they believe is good, even if misguided for me or for themselves, not purely to hurt me. This shift helps you see their comment as coming from a place of flawed judgment or limited perspective, rather than pure malice, making it easier to let go of anger. The missed deadline at work. A team member misses a crucial deadline, jeopardizing your project. Choose your response. Once you've reframed their actions through the lens of ignorance, your emotional response will naturally soften. You can then choose a more reasoned, compassionate, or detached response, rather than an angry one. Examples in action. The cutting remark. A relative makes a sharp, critical comment about your life choices. Your first impulse is anger. They're being so judgmental and mean. Assume ignorance, mistake. Perhaps they believe they are helping me, even if their delivery is poor. Perhaps they are projecting their own anxieties or insecurities onto my situation. Perhaps they simply lack the social intelligence to phrase their concerns constructively. They are acting from what they believe is good, even if misguided for me or for themselves, not purely to hurt me. This shift helps you see their comment as coming from a place of flawed judgment or limited perspective, rather than pure malice, making it easier to let go of anger. The missed deadline at work. A team member misses a crucial deadline, jeopardizing care. The Stoics believe that our unique human capacity is our logos, our rational faculty. This reason is not just about logic, it's about discerning what is truly good, what is virtuous, what is in alignment with nature, both human nature and cosmic nature. Anger, being a chaotic and destructive passion, is inherently unnatural to a rational being. It is an illness of the mind, a perversion of our true potential. The strategy here is not just to observe anger, but to actively and decisively assert the supremacy of your rational faculty. When anger begins to stir, it is a signal that your reason is under threat. Your goal is to refuse to surrender your inner citadel to this invading force. Key Stoic principles underpinning this strategy. 1. Virtue as the highest good. The Stoics believed that virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, temperance is the sole good. Anger, by driving us to injustice, cowardice, fear of not getting what we want, intemperance, and folly, directly opposes these virtues. 2. Our power of choice. We always retain the power to choose our response. Even when the initial impression of anger arises, we have the assent, as discussed in Strategy 3, to either embrace it or reject it, to let it govern us or to govern it. 3. Consistency with nature. A human being's nature is to be rational and social. Anger, being irrational and often antisocial, goes against our very nature. Seneca advised cultivating self-control as a habit, recognizing that if we cannot control our breath, we cannot control our emotions. The daily practice of temperance, of making deliberate choices to align with reason even in small things, builds the strength needed to resist anger in larger moments. Practical application. The immediate reassertion of reason. This strategy requires vigilance and a firm commitment to your rational self. 1. Recognize the onset. Feel the physical sensations of anger, heart racing, jaw clenching, heat rising. Recognize this as the warning sign that reason is being challenged. 2. Invoke your inner sage. Imagine the wisest, most rational version of yourself observing the situation. What would they advise? Would they give in to this destructive impulse? 3. Engage in self-dialogue. Talk to yourself with reason. Is this anger helping me solve the problem? Almost always no. Is this anger serving my long-term goals of peace and virtue? Definitely no. What virtuous action can I take instead? Patience, calm communication, disengagement, acceptance. Am I willing to sacrifice my inner peace and potentially regret my actions for this fleeting moment of fury? 4. Practice immediate self-correction. Physical. Take a deep breath. Count to 10 or 20 or 50. Loosen your jaw. Relax your shoulders. These physical actions send signals to your brain that you are asserting control. Mental. Repeat a Stoic maxim. This is outside my control. It's my judgment, not the event that causes my distress. I choose not to be harmed. Verbal if necessary. If you're about to lash out, tell yourself, or even the other person, calmly, I need a moment to think before I respond. This buys time for reason to reassert itself. 5. Reframe the desire to punish. Anger often seeks punishment. Reason steps in and asks, what good will punishment achieve? Will it lead to justice or simply more harm? What is the just and wise way to address this, if action is required at all? Examples in action. Public humiliation. You are publicly corrected or criticized in a way that feels humiliating. Your face burns, your heart pounds, and you want to lash out defensively. Invoke reason. This feeling of humiliation and anger is a passion trying to take over. What is the rational response? To defend my ego in the moment, potentially making things worse, or to calmly assess the criticism. If it's valid, I can learn. If it's unjust, my calm demeanor will expose its flaws more effectively than an angry outburst. My reputation is ultimately built on my character, not on winning every verbal battle. I choose temperance and wisdom over reactive rage. Persistent annoyance. A recurring sound, habit, or person consistently grates on your nerves, building a slow burn of anger. Invoke reason. This annoyance is a constant challenge to my self-control. Giving in to anger every time only makes me miserable. What would reason dictate? Can I alter the external factor E.G., earplugs, a calm conversation? If not, can I change my internal response? Can I view this as an opportunity to cultivate patience, to strengthen my inner resolve against trivial external stimuli? My peace is more valuable than fighting a battle I cannot win externally. Unfair treatment. You believe you've been unfairly treated or passed over for something you deserved. Anger wells up, demanding justice. Invoke reason. This feeling of injustice is powerful, but is my anger the best path to address it? Will lashing out make the situation more just, or will it damage my standing and reputation further? Reason would dictate that I calmly gather facts, articulate my case clearly and respectfully, or accept that some things are beyond my control and adapt. My virtue lies in responding justly and rationally, not in succumbing to the heat of the moment. Benefits: inner strength, sound judgment, and true freedom. Cultivating the virtue of reason and self-control is the essence of becoming a truly Stoic individual. It builds an unshakable inner strength, a resilience that allows you to face life's provocations without being swept away by destructive passions. You gain the ability to make sound judgments even under pressure, to choose actions that align with your deepest values rather than being dictated by fleeting emotional surges. This practice leads to true freedom, the freedom from being a slave to your own emotions. You are no longer tossed about by every external event or internal impulse. Instead, you stand firm, grounded in your rational faculty, master of your own mind. Anger, once a formidable enemy, becomes a recognized challenger, one that you are consistently prepared to meet and disarm with the calm, unwavering power of your reason. It is the ultimate expression of human dignity and self-mastery. Strategy 7. Delayed response. Creating a space for reflection. Building upon the foundation of reasserting reason, the seventh Stoic strategy for managing anger is intensely practical: delayed response. This technique involves consciously creating a temporal gap between an anger-inducing stimulus and your reaction, allowing your rational mind to engage before your impulsive emotions take over. It's about giving yourself the crucial time to process rather than instantly react. The problem: the tyranny of immediate reaction. Our brains are wired for quick reactions, especially when perceiving a threat or injustice. The limbic system, the ancient emotional part of our brain, is much faster than the prefrontal cortex, the seat of reason. When triggered, we often experience an almost instantaneous surge of emotion: fight, flight, or freeze. In the context of anger, this means that before our rational mind can fully assess the situation, our body and mind are already preparing for an angry outburst, a harsh word, or an impulsive action. This immediate reaction is precisely where we lose control. We speak before we think, regret our words immediately, and often exacerbate the situation. We allow the initial unexamined impression, as discussed in Strategy 3, to take hold, giving it our full assent before reason has a chance to intervene. This reflexiveness makes us slaves to our passions, reacting predictably and often self-destructively to external stimuli, much like a Pavlovian dog. We become predictable, easy to provoke, and consistently undermined by our own emotional volatility. Seneca, ever the practical guide, put it plainly: the best delay for anger is the first. He recognized that the initial burst is the most dangerous, and if it can be contained, the rest will follow. He advised us to put off a display of temper and to give it space. This space, this delay, is the battlefield where reason can reclaim its throne. The Stoic insight: the power of the pause. The Stoic insight behind delayed response is that time is a powerful ally for reason. Anger is a hot, immediate emotion. Reason, while powerful, often needs a moment to gather its strength. By intentionally creating a pause, you provide that moment. This pause allows one cooling off. The initial physiological surge of anger, adrenaline, increased heart rate, has time to subside, even slightly. 2. Cognitive reappraisal. It creates the opportunity to apply Strategy 3, to question the initial impression and judgment, and to seek alternative interpretations. 3. Dichotomy of control. Check. You can quickly run the situation through the filter of what's in your control. Strategy 1. 4. Reassertion of reason. It gives your rational faculty, Strategy 6, the precious seconds it needs to engage, allowing you to choose a virtuous, thoughtful response rather than a reactive, impulsive one. 5. Perspective taking. It offers a micro-opportunity to apply the view from above, Strategy 4, or assume ignorance, not malice, Strategy 5. This pause is not about avoidance, it's about strategic engagement. It's about ensuring that when you do act or speak, it's from a place of considered wisdom, not impulsive fury. It's about choosing your response rather than merely reacting. Practical application. Building a buffer zone. This strategy is about cultivating habits that introduce a deliberate pause. 1. The count to 10 rule. This classic piece of advice is Stoic in nature. When you feel anger rising, physically or mentally count to 10 before speaking or acting. For particularly intense situations, count to 20 or even higher. This simple act creates the necessary space. 2. Deep breathing. Engage in slow, deliberate deep breaths. Focus on the sensation of air entering and leaving your body. This physiologically calms your nervous system and anchors you in the present moment, detaching you from the anger-inducing narrative. 3. Excuse yourself. If possible and appropriate, physically remove yourself from the immediate situation. I need a moment, or I need to step out for a minute. A quick walk, a trip to the restroom, or simply turning away for a few seconds can break the emotional spell. 4. Delay communication. If a text, email, or social media post makes you angry, do not reply immediately. Draft your response, but save it and revisit it later hours, or even a day later. Often by the time you reread it, your anger has dissipated, and you can formulate a more constructive, or simply choose not to send it. 5. The journal it out technique. If you can't speak or remove yourself, mentally or physically if possible, write down your angry thoughts. Vent onto paper. This externalizes the emotion, giving you distance and preventing it from boiling over internally or exploding externally. Examples in action. Heated argument with a loved one. Your partner says something that feels deeply unfair or hurtful. Your immediate impulse is to retaliate with an equally cutting remark. Delayed response. Instead of speaking, take a deep breath. Count to 5. Say, I need a moment to think about that before I respond, or even just okay. This creates a buffer. In that buffer you might remember strategy 5, assume ignorance, not malice, or strategy 3, challenge your judgment. You might realize their comment came from stress, or that your interpretation is an overreaction. When you eventually respond, it's from a place of calm consideration, not reactive anger. A provocative online comment. You read an outrageous or insulting comment directed at you or something you care about on social media. Your fingers itch to type an angry retort. Delayed response. Close the tab, walk away from the computer, or type out your angry response in a private document, then delete it. Resolve to return to the comment in an hour or the next day. More often than not, when you revisit it, the urgency to respond angrily will have vanished. You might realize it's not worth your energy, or you can formulate a much more measured and effective response, or simply choose to ignore it. Frustration with technology. Your computer crashes in the middle of important work, and you feel the urge to punch the screen or yell in frustration. Delayed response. Close your eyes. Count slowly. Take 3 deep breaths. Get up and walk away from the computer for a minute. During this brief pause, you can apply strategy 1, Premeditatio. This is outside my control. Or strategy 4, 1 Premeditatio. The view from above. You realize your anger changes nothing about the computer but compromises your own peace. You then return to the problem with a calmer, more problem-solving mindset. Benefits: increased self-awareness, thoughtful action, and regret reduction. The consistent practice of delayed response fundamentally changes your relationship with anger. You move from being a passenger on the roller coaster of your emotions to being the operator. You gain invaluable self-awareness, learning to recognize the earliest physiological and psychological signs of anger's onset. Most importantly, you reduce the likelihood of regrettable actions and words. By introducing that crucial pause, you allow your higher faculties to engage, ensuring that your responses are aligned with your values and your long-term well-being. This leads to fewer apologies, less conflict, and a greater sense of integrity. You become a person who responds with intention and wisdom, rather than just reacting, cementing your control over your inner world and demonstrating true self-mastery. Strategy 8. Practice and habituation. The daily training of the mind. We have explored 7 powerful Stoic strategies for controlling anger, each offering a unique angle of attack on this disruptive passion. Now, we arrive at the overarching principle that binds them all together and makes their mastery possible: practice and habituation. For the Stoics, philosophy was not a mere academic pursuit, it was a way of life, a daily regimen, a continuous training of the mind and character. Mastering anger, like any profound skill, is not achieved through a single insight or a fleeting moment of effort, but through persistent, diligent, and lifelong practice. The problem: the erosion of good intentions. How often do we understand a concept intellectually, say, the importance of patience or the futility of anger, yet find ourselves falling back into old patterns when faced with real-world triggers? We read a book, hear a lecture, have a moment of clarity, and for a short time we manage our anger beautifully. But then, old habits creep back in. The initial enthusiasm fades, vigilance wanes, and we find ourselves once again succumbing to the fiery grip of rage. The problem is that our emotional reactions are often deeply ingrained habits, neural pathways worn deep by years of repetition. They are automatic, unconscious programs running in the background. Simply knowing the right thing to do is rarely enough to override these powerful, habitual responses. It's like knowing how to play a musical instrument. Intellectual understanding of scales and chords won't make you a virtuoso. You need to pick up the instrument every single day and practice until the movements become second nature, until the music flows effortlessly. Without consistent practice, without habituating these new rational responses, our good intentions remain fragile, easily shattered by the next significant provocation. We remain at the mercy of our ingrained emotional reflexes. The Stoic insight: philosophy as a daily exercise. Ascesis. The Stoics understood that virtue is not innate, it is cultivated through consistent effort and discipline. They referred to this as ascesis, a term from which our word asceticism derives, but for them, it meant rigorous training or exercise, not deprivation. This training was applied to the mind, the will, and the emotions. Just as an athlete trains their body, a Stoic trains their mind to be rational, resilient, and virtuous. Epictetus compared philosophical training to the work of a carpenter or a pilot. We must train our minds as we train our bodies for the Olympic Games. He emphasized that simply hearing or reading about Stoicism is insufficient, one must do philosophy. Habituation is the key. When you repeatedly apply the Stoic strategies, the dichotomy of control, Premeditatio Malorum, cognitive reappraisal, the view from above, empathy, reason, and delayed response, you begin to forge new neural pathways. These rational, virtuous responses gradually become your new default. The initial effort required to pause, to question, to reframe, lessens over time. What once felt like a struggle against a powerful tide begins to feel like a natural, almost automatic response. This daily training ensures that time is a one-way ticket. Cognitive reappraisal, the view from above, empathy, reason, and delayed response, you begin to forge new neural pathways. These rational, virtuous responses gradually become your new default.
Wishing after regain a frankly as decent time.
It's the dribit. Shay Cookman way. Both against the highest considerate temtout.
Impossible bitch na helps Kim Kai. The capsule the sang to against the swallows. Then point a reappraisal.
The view from above, empathy, reason, and delayed response, you begin to forge new neural pathways. 2.
Virtue becomes habit.
You are literally shaping your character, making yourself into the kind of person who is less prone to anger, more tranquil, and more rational. Practical application, daily discipline and reflection. Embrace the daily work. Think of yourself as an athlete of the mind, preparing for the challenges of life. One morning preparation premeditatio. Malorum and goal setting. Start your day by briefly contemplating potential challenges. Today, I might encounter difficult people, frustrating delays, unexpected setbacks. If anger arises, I will remember to pause, question my judgments, and apply reason. Set an intention to practice 1 or 2 specific strategies throughout the day. 2. In-the-moment application. This is where the real work happens. Every time you feel the slightest flicker of anger, immediately attempt to apply one of the strategies. 3. Evening review. Self-reflection. Before bed, take time to review your day. Where did I feel anger today? What triggered it? Which Stoic strategy did I attempt to use? How successful was I? Where could I have done better? What did I learn? Marcus Aurelius called this an examination of conscience. This critical self-assessment is vital for continuous improvement. It allows you to identify patterns, reinforce successes, and refine your approach to areas where you struggled. 4. Small victories, consistent effort. Don't wait for a major crisis to practice. Practice on small annoyances. A slow internet connection, a minor inconvenience, a slight misunderstanding. Each successful intervention, no matter how small, strengthens your mental muscles. Consistency over intensity is key. 5. Embrace setbacks as learning opportunities. You will stumble, you will lose your temper. This is part of the training. Don't let a momentary lapse derail your entire effort. Instead, treat it as valuable feedback. Okay, I reacted angrily. Why? What could I have done differently? How can I apply the strategies better next time? Forgiveness of self, followed by renewed commitment, is essential. Examples in action. Daily commute as a training ground. Instead of dreading traffic, view your daily commute as a dojo for Stoic practice. Morning premeditation. Traffic will be dense, other drivers will be imperfect. I will practice patience and not let external events dictate my peace. In-the-moment prayer. When someone cuts you off, immediately apply delayed response, take a deep breath, count, and cognitive reappraisal. Perhaps they are distracted, not malicious. My anger changes nothing. Evening review. Today I almost lost my temper when that person swerved, but I remembered to count. I still felt a flicker of annoyance, but it didn't escalate. Progress. Managing household frustrations. The mundane annoyances of shared living can be constant triggers. Morning premeditation. My family members are human. They will make mistakes. They will leave things out. I will practice understanding and not letting small things disturb my tranquility. In-the-moment prayer. Your child leaves their toys everywhere, triggering your frustration. You pause. This is within my control to clean or to address calmly. My anger is a judgment, not a necessity. Evening review. I felt angry about the mess, but I paused and remembered to assume ignorance. They are children. They forget. I addressed it calmly instead of yelling. Good. Workplace. Pressure. High-stress environments are fertile ground for anger. Morning premeditation. Today at work, I will likely face demands and frustrations. I will focus on what is in my control, my effort, my attitude, my response. I will use delayed response when provoked. In-the-moment prayer. A colleague makes a snide remark in a meeting. You feel your face flush. You take a breath, count to 3. You remind yourself of strategy 5, differ and assume ignorance, not malice, and strategy 6, differ and assume reassert reason. You choose a calm professional response or no response at all. Evening review. That meeting was tough. I felt anger at the comment, but I held my tongue and assessed the situation rationally. I didn't let it derail my focus. I preserved my peace. Benefits. Profound transformation and lasting tranquility. The strategy of practice and habituation is the ultimate guarantor of success in controlling anger, and indeed in living a Stoic life. It transforms theoretical knowledge into embodied wisdom. Through consistent, deliberate effort, you will observe a profound shift within yourself. Anger will become less frequent, less intense, and less disruptive. When it does arise, you will possess the mental tools and the trained reflexes to disarm it swiftly and effectively. You will not become immune to negative emotions, for that is not the Stoic goal. Instead, you will become profoundly resilient. You will encounter anger-inducing events, but your response will be fundamentally different. You will meet them with a calm, reasoned mind, guided by virtue, rather than being dragged into the chaos of unchecked passion. This enduring tranquility, born from daily discipline, is the true freedom and inner peace that Stoicism promises. And it is a prize well worth the continuous effort. Your mind, once a battleground of uncontrolled passions, will become an unassailable fortress of reason and peace. We have journeyed through 8 profound Stoic strategies, each a cornerstone in the edifice of emotional mastery. From the fundamental understanding of the dichotomy of control to the vital practice of daily habituation, these techniques offer a comprehensive and actionable framework for transforming your relationship with anger. Let us briefly recap the pillars we have explored. 1. The dichotomy of control. Distinguishing what is within our power, our judgments, our responses from what is not, external events, others' actions, and directing our energy accordingly. 2. Premeditation Malorum. Proactively contemplating potential difficulties and anger triggers, thereby robbing them of their power to shock and destabilize us. 3. Cognitive reappraisal. Consciously challenging and reframing the judgments we make about events, understanding that our interpretations, not the events themselves, are the source of our anger. 4. The view from above. Gaining a cosmic perspective to diminish the perceived significance of our frustrations, recognizing their smallness in the vastness of existence. 5. Empathy and understanding. Assuming ignorance, not malice, in the actions of others, fostering compassion and reducing the personal sting of perceived slights. 6. The virtue of reason and self-control. Actively asserting the supremacy of our rational faculty over the impulsive, destructive nature of anger, recognizing anger as a temporary madness. 7. Delayed response. Creating a crucial temporal buffer between stimulus and reaction, allowing reason to engage before emotional impulses take over. 8. Practice and habituation. The consistent, diligent, and lifelong application of these strategies, transforming conscious effort into ingrained, automatic, and virtuous responses. Each of these strategies, when understood and applied individually, holds immense power. But their true strength lies in their synergy, their interconnectedness. They are not isolated tools but components of a holistic Stoic approach to life, an approach that seeks not to avoid challenges, but to meet them with unwavering inner strength and composure. Remember, the path to Stoic tranquility is not a sprint, it is a lifelong journey. You will not become perfectly free from anger overnight. There will be setbacks, moments where old habits resurface, and times when you feel overwhelmed. This is normal. The Stoic path is one of continuous effort, self-correction, and relentless dedication to improving your character. The true victory lies not in never feeling anger, but in swiftly recognizing its onset, in applying your trained faculties to disarm it, and in consistently choosing reason over passion. Each time you successfully intervene, each time you choose a wise response over an angry one, you strengthen your inner citadel. You reclaim a piece of your peace. You affirm your agency. Embrace this journey. Let the wisdom of the Stoics be your guide. Start small, be consistent, and be patient with yourself. As you cultivate these strategies, you will discover a profound transformation, a mind less prone to disturbance, a heart less burdened by resentment, and a spirit more aligned with wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. You will become the master of your inner world, free from the tyranny of anger and capable of living a life of profound tranquility and purpose. The work begins now. Your inner peace awaits.